Welcome, everyone. Thanks for being here. All right, we're right at 2 o'clock. You ready, Amrita?
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm so glad that you're all here. We are very excited that you've joined us for Accelerating College and Career Pathways. And wait for it, I'm going to try to say this all in one breath. San Diego Unified School District College, Career, and Technical Education to San Diego City, Mesa, Miramar College, CT Transitions Credit by Exam. We're here to talk about CT Transitions Credit by Exam. I'm Amrita Herman, Dean of Career Education and Workforce Development at the San Diego Community College District Office, and I'm here with Sarah Vielma. Sarah, you want to introduce yourself briefly?
Hi, everyone. I am Sarah Vielma. I am the director for the College, Career, and Technical Education Division with San Diego Unified School District. And so we'll be highlighting our partnership with the San Diego Community College District and how we've support the credit by exam process for our students and earning that early college credit.
Yes. And so before we get going, I did just want to get a sense, maybe we can do some thumbs up, that kind of thing, get a sense of who's in the room with us. I'm curious to see how many folks are from the community college side. See a couple thumbs. All right. How many folks are here from, let's see, K-12 administrators? Okay. And how about teachers? Do we have any teachers joining us today? All right. Thank you. Welcome. And students. I know there's sometimes students in these groups, which are always welcome. So is anyone a student here today? Okay. Well, thank you all for being here. So let's get going. Let's see. Next slide, please. Okay, so really, we're going to focus on a number of different things within CT Transitions Credit by Exam, but I'll start by saying that our long-term goal is focused on enhancing college and career pathways with opportunities for early college credit. So it's really all about leveraging early college credit for those strengthened career education programs of study and pathways, pathway transitions for degree and certificate completion. Our work is a joint partnership effort for alignment and student success between our two districts. And our focus today is really going to be just on our CT Transitions Credit by Exam efforts together. So our processes, systems, that kind of thing. And I'll briefly show the agenda. Kind of tell you
and
what
we're giving you a little bit of a mountain scene with a nice pathway through it. And then you also have the pool scene behind me. So hopefully you have, whatever you prefer.
Tranquil pathways, lazy river, those kinds of things. So we're going to start, Sarah's going to kick us off with basic information about early college credit, kind of contextualizing, and then going into CT transitions, that articulation itself. I'll talk a little bit about actual agreement development through awarding of credit, sort of the three main stages of that and our roles and resources that we share. Sarah's going to do a bit of a deep dive into student processes, outreach, communication, of course, data and forms. It's really huge on how we manage all of this work. And we'll share some of our research and reporting that we've done together and the insights we gained, and then close with a little bit of discussion around our strategies for continued improvement and student success. So with that, I will hand it over to Sarah to get us started.
So as we get started, I'm also going to encourage you to use the chat because that's one way of us connecting with all of you. So as we get started, I wanted to share just some research. We know the benefits that are out there for students that earn early college credit. I wanted to share this quote from an EdSource article that actually came out earlier this year in February. And UC Davis School of Education did a research report on college credit. They focused on dual enrollment, but the idea around students earning early college credit, you can see towards the bottom of this quote that it shows that students who get a head start on their college careers have been shown to boost both high school and college graduation rates. So just thinking all the benefits that students receive from actually earning early college credit. And as I transition to the next slide, if you can just put into the chat some of your goals or your hopes for students in earning early college credit? What are you hoping for either from this session or just in general around student opportunities in earning early college credit? So you can just type a few things into the chat around your goals and hopes for students and early college credit. And I'm going to go ahead and transition. Keep typing into that chat as you get settled in. I'm going to start by just sharing our own district's commitment to early college credit opportunities for all. And it's a partnership between both our board and their commitment to advanced studies for our students, and then our commitment to all of the different ways that students can earn early college credit. So we actually recently this week presented to our board around all of the ways students can earn early college credit. Many times, the first thing people think about because of the history of it is an advanced placement course. And actually our board started that communication around AP for all. We wanted to expand that idea and think about all of the different ways that students can earn early college credit. So this graphic shows that. We have some specific college partnerships with UCSD, the Community College District, Point Loma, and then we also have college and career access pathways. So our own agreements with our colleges for dual enrollment courses, and then the opportunities students have in our CTE courses for an articulated course. So just kind of framing that idea around all of the different ways students can earn early college credit. We shared this graphic with our board so that they were also aware and that families are aware of all of the different ways that students can earn early college credit. So advanced placement courses that they can take on their campus. We also have a online school that they can enroll in courses. Then our CCAP courses, our CTE pathways. We have 11 different pathways that have a certain sequence of courses that are at many of our schools, right? So each school can choose. But within those 11 pathways, we have early college credit opportunities, and it's 23 specific CTE courses. So that's what we're going to focus on in this presentation, is the CTE Pathway Credit by Exam program. And in our agreement with San Diego Community College District, these four criteria for students to earn early college credit have to be met. And so I just want to go over that because this is the program we have in place. We're going to share a little bit more about how we accomplish all of this. So again, as I mentioned, we have the 23 courses that have a current agreement, which means that we have agreement between our curriculum and that of a college course. And we have agreement on the end of course assessment that the students are going to be taking in order to earn the college credit. This aligns with 18 college courses. Our students have to earn an A or B in both parts of the course. So usually it's like a semester 1, semester 2. This year we're on the quarter system. So depending on each part of the course, they have to earn an A or B in both parts of that. Then they must do an application for the college, and then they complete a petition form in order to petition for the credit. And our district has really taken on the role of ensuring that students go through all this entire process. In other districts, sometimes the agreement is developed, but then there's not that additional support for students to complete every step of the process and to award the credit. And that's actually one of the things that I credit the growth in the number of credits that are earned by our students is really overseeing every step of the way, all the way to earning the credit.
Okay, so thank you, Sarah. So I'm going to talk a little bit about sort of that beginning from the agreement through actually the awarding of that credit, and share a little insight into the roles and responsibilities and the shared resources that we have. Our work in our district is very centralized. So we support our 3 colleges, City, Mesa, and Miramar, in this work, and that we lead all the coordination from agreement development through that awarding of credit at a centralized district office. And so that's a little bit of context. And next slide, I'll go into the 3 main stages. So all of the agreement development through awarding of credit is really about interconnected roles and responsibilities. And there are 3 ongoing overlapping stages, right? It's not purely linear, though you do need an agreement before you can get anywhere. So it does start with the agreement development. And this really begins with that exchange of curriculum, that deep dive and review of what the course competencies really are, and are they being taught to a degree that is appropriate accessible to meet the competencies of that college course. And so not only is it curricular alignment, it's also that agreement on that final assessment, which Sarah mentioned. So the college faculty approved assessment and how that will be reviewed and graded and proctored and those kinds of things. It is about faculty to teacher discussions. And then of course that final sign off on by the college faculty. And that agreement, of course, informs implementation. And implementation is broad, as you'll see when we get closer to Sarah's slides about really working with the students and the parents and all the data. But the agreement really shapes that implementation, and that inside the agreement, it does outline any unique requirements, whether it's a software requirement or a certain kind of way of integrating certain competencies into that course. And so we base things around that agreement. And agreements are on a cycle, they're on a 2-year cycle, and of course signed regularly to ensure awareness of that. And then of course, implementation moves into the world of counselor awareness, teacher awareness, parent and student awareness, and the data tracking. All very important. And then of course, right, the student part. the key to all of this, the reason we pull our hair out over shared processes and forms and all of that is to ensure that the students have a positive experience. And so in that student participation, we are working in partnership with Sarah and her team on the communication and support. And that's how we get through into the third stage, really about that awarding of college credit. And again, I mentioned we do things very centralized here. So we're working with Unified on ensuring that the students meet all of their requirements, that's tracked and recorded properly. There's historical records. Then of course we're doing the validation, and then we work with our student services department to ensure that the credit is processed and transcribed appropriately on their record. And so throughout these 3 main stages, we really balance instruction and student services. And that is really the key to all of this. I think you'll hear Sarah and I mention multiple times how important it is to all be sort of on the same page. In terms of that, these stages and sort of, as I mentioned, that agreement development being key there, I wanted to kind of go on to the next slide and mention a little bit about our timeline for the agreement cycles, because I think it gives a little bit of insight into some of the work that we do in really organizing the communication and ensuring that agreements are in place so that students are aware in advance and can make plans, that counselors know in advance, and that they can make informed decisions about which courses they want to complete, and ideally are selecting career pathways that they want to pursue all the way into college. And so on this slide, we tried to show sort of 2 main parts to the agreement cycles, of course, renewals and then the new agreements. And so all of our agreements are 2-year renewable agreements. And as Sarah mentioned, we've got 23 high school classes to 18 college classes. So while some agreements have more than one, you can sort of assume that there's about 18 agreements right now in many different forms and in different stages. But we're showing here kind of that cycle. So we have an update of our documents and teacher signatures moving into actual implementation of it. And then of course the renewal cycle, which begins every fall really for to ensure that the agreements are in place before they expire, right? So for example, some of our agreements are up let's see, next summer, so June 2021. And so we're working right now with Sarah and her team to begin the renewal process. And that renewal process is a coordinated effort to ensure our faculty are aware of the curriculum, have opportunities to connect with the teachers, talk about what's working, what's not working, and ensure that there's continued alignment. And then we update our documents. You'll see a number of stars on this page because sometimes this is goals, right? We're trying our best to ensure that no agreement expires, that they're always renewed in advance so that people can plan and really rely on these agreements being in place. And then of course with new agreements, we sort of take it where it comes. If there's an excitement and interest from our faculty, we support them and we coordinate these meetings with Unified's teachers to ensure that they are excited and interested in building a pathway beyond just the agreement itself. But our ideal model is that the majority of our new agreement exploration occurs in the fall so that it can be in place by spring and get into our college catalogs, so that this really ensures that all of our institutions are aware of these that our counselors are aware of them, that our outreach directors are aware of them, and so that can really support the students on Unified side as they come over and transition. So that's sort of our goal with that work, and we're pursuing it, and it normally works out okay, right, Sarah? There's always some hiccups there, but as I mentioned, I think one thing I wanted to emphasize is that, again, we're centralized. So we have sort of one person really working across all three of our colleges, coordinating with our faculty. And it's a big role, and a role that requires a lot of facilitation, but it's exciting because we provide this service to our colleges so that they don't have to get stuck in the weeds. They can focus on the career pathways and the outreach via those pathways once these things are established.
Yeah, and just the one thing I would mention is you'll notice the early starting and early thinking about courses. We're always kind of thinking ahead, right, in education, but really giving time for that collaboration and working through agreements so that they're ready, like almost that whole year, so that they're ready by the end of that year for that following year. So really thinking ahead of like, what are the new agreements that we want to focus on?
Yes, thank you. And so throughout all of this, we really have a number of co-created shared documents. And this is just an outline of the major ones. So for our agreement templates, of course, we manage a lot of different kinds of agreements. And so we try to do it in a clear, consistent manner. Our agreement templates include, the summary information, of course, details on the final assessment, the course specifics, our annual signatures, and again, they're a 2-year cycle. We also include in our agreements the pathway information. So you can really see on the college side, if they take this course on the high school side and get credit for this college course, what does that count towards? What is their progress? What certificates and degrees are they accelerating towards completion for? And so that's part of that, those templates as well. And I did put a sample template into our shared materials for this presentation. So if you want to take a look and see what sort of a basic template that we use. The other one is our master list, something that we treasure and hold dear. It's sort of an internal document between Unified and us that really is a true partnership tool where we include all of the active agreements as well as their expiration dates. So we know, again, as Sarah mentioned, how to pre-plan and ensure that they remain active. And then also to think about which pathways are missing and how best to be strategic and developing new ones. We've co-created high school OnePages that I think every couple of months, Sarah and I come up with a way to make them even better. But the idea is that they're tools for the high schools. So in our master list, it's all by pathway, which is great. And you list all the high schools that have the agreements, which is wonderful. But really, students, parents, teachers, they are high school specific, right? And they want to know within their one high school, what are the opportunities and how do they plan for those? And so we've been developing those materials and we're starting to expand that to build in more of the career pathway information. And Sarah will share more about that when she gets into the student side. For timelines, I should mention, I did include in the resources a document that includes links to our master list and to all of our OnePages for our high schools, so that you can get a sense of how we do that right now. And we are slowly making improvements to them. On the timeline, we have a shared timeline that is obviously program year specific and accommodates different kinds of course sequencing. So for example, if you're a 4x4 or if you're the full semester, you are obviously finishing these courses at different times and then are going to be requiring the processing of credit at different times. And so Sarah's team and my team work together on a shared timeline to make sure we're all aware of what's happening at the high schools. Like, is this the month where all the students are being encouraged to apply? Is this the month that outreach is coming out? What are they doing at which stage and where are they at in the process? So that's been a new tool that we've created. I think we started last year and it's been really helpful. And then last but absolutely not least, we would be lost without it, is of course the key to everything, the shared data files. Really having shared data records, information sharing about all the participants, the qualified participants, then really the insight into the status for everything. So that is just kind of a broad overview, real quick, of the basic process and the materials that we've built together to support these processes. And Sarah's going to take it from here to really talk about that student side and what they do with all this information in between our agreement renewals.
Okay, thanks. So now you've seen kind of what it looks like to create an agreement, right? All the way from of starting to all of these resources that we use to keep track of what agreements are in place, when we have to renew them, all of that piece of it. And what I'm going to take you through now is the student process. And these two processes really go hand in hand, right? Because an agreement that's created is great on, on paper and an established, but if you don't have that student process, then you're not going to see students earn the credit. So the way I thought of it was, an agreement is only as good as those students that are earning the credit. And so that's our end goal. So I want to just take us through kind of all of the pieces and our role as a department in supporting that student process. One of the key things that I want to focus on is this communication. And we've really focused on how do we communicate better to our students and our families the opportunities that they have both in pathways and the sequence of courses that are included in a pathway, but then also what are the advantages of completing a pathway? What courses are included in that sequence that have an articulated agreement? We focused last year, and Andriana Murphy is on our call. She's been my key partner on helping us really get these programs of study done. Throughout my years in career technical education, I've seen this program of study template come out from the state and federal for Perkins. But the key is actually we took it to be able to make sure we created this document for every school and every pathway that we offer. And so what this document shows, I have a clip here and I do have a link to it on our website where we will be able to upload all of these pathways by school for every pathway and be able to show in this blue area what is the sequence of courses for that pathway area, and then highlight a course that actually has that articulated agreement so that counselors know, students know, and we can really focus on them understanding that this course as part of a pathway they can earn college credit. That other piece of communication is that eligibility criteria. So wanting them to understand what do they need to do in order to earn the credit, that idea of earning the A or B, and wanting them to know that upfront. So what we've developed, especially this year, in the past, we would communicate to our teachers, ask them to communicate, put it in their syllabus. But moving to online learning, it really opened up and increased that need for support in communication. So we've actually been able to create direct emails to students and parents that come both from our office and then also asking teachers to reinforce that information with their students as well. So that's what this direct email to students and parents about the program. One of the other things that really supports this process is our district commitment to the advanced studies. And so a couple years ago, the board agreed to give weighted credit for our articulated courses as well. So just like an AP course earns weighted credit, we're able to give weighted credit for students that earn college credit. So being able to communicate that to them up ahead and up front as far as a benefit of earning college credit is also really important to us. I am going to take us to our website because that's another thing that, especially in this online and learning environment, we found the need to just increase that presence on our website. So we've created a CTE website. It actually, and I'm going to take us to it, even though in Zoom it's kind of a risk, but
take the risk.
Yes. And what we've been able to put different things on this website, kind of a platform for student opportunities, for calendar, for webinars and training and PD, for events that we have coming up. But one of the things I want to show you is that college and career pathway area. So we are creating for every school an area that will show the industry sectors that school offers, and then have it linked to that program of study document so that we have it available for all students. The other piece is the articulated course process. And so we have a page that is dedicated to that articulation process. We can put links here to those one-pagers that the community college has created for us. And then we can also highlight the pathways that have articulated courses. And we have a partnership with Nearpod, and we created a South-paced lesson around the pathway, and then including in this lesson the actual course sequence and highlighting again the course. So we feel like there's many ways that we can communicate to our students the opportunity that they have to earn the college credit. So we're working on creating these for every one of our pathways that actually includes the sequence of courses with it identified which course is the articulated course. So it's easy for students to see that. Okay, so, one other thing. So we also, we are just kind of in that same idea of, let me go back to, I want to click this template. Oh, sorry. There we go. Oh, it switched slides. Sorry about that. Okay, so this is another sample template, and it's linked so that you have it. We wanted to give you resources that may be helpful for you or samples. But this is a Slides Mania template that when I share this with anybody, everybody immediately thinks of ideas of ways to use it. And so what we're thinking about is how can we use a digital binder like this to really communicate to students all of the opportunities that they have. And we would have all of the tabs here that would then go into more detail for them for each one of these programs. So you can see the AP, the CCAP, the CTE programs, and the MOU. So this is a template. It doesn't have the information in it, but you can use it for anything that you think it may be useful in communicating information to your students. And that's kind of all been prompted by this online environment. We really wanted to find different ways to be able to share the information with students. Okay, the next thing that I'm going to go through is the student supports and instructor supports for student success in earning the credit, especially in credit by exam. So as we mentioned, the students earn credit by being successful on an end of course exam that's agreed upon between the faculty and our instructors. And so we have wanted to offer supports to our instructors so that they can help ensure student success on the end of course exam or the project. And we do that by encouraging professional development, so encouraging opportunities for the college faculty and our instructors to come together. We recently did this in graphic design, and we had our teachers and we had the college faculty going over the rubric for that end of course project. And even just clearing up or sharing strategies, it's really beneficial to bring the teachers together, the educators and the college faculty. The other thing is PLC, so subject alike instructors. In this environment, we've actually seen an increase in our opportunity, right? It's a Zoom meeting, everyone can join, and we can bring our instructors together to talk together around the exam, strategies, how are they teaching that concept, and we can offer that to our instructors. Then I want to mention the Canvas. So we've been able to use Canvas to get all of our exams into Canvas so that it makes it easy for our instructors to import the exam into their Canvas so that they could offer it through Canvas. So that was an effort that we did because we did not have that before, but moving into online learning, we wanted everyone to have access easily to that end of course exam so that we could still offer the opportunity last spring, and then we're continuing this year. The other thing is our entire team support. So all of this work takes a team, and I give credit. So I mentioned Andriana, Jeff Thomas is here. I'm going to highlight him in a minute around data, but we have committed to supporting the process for the college application. These are screenshots from presentations that we give to our students. And one of the things that we have found really helpful for this going into this fall is we purchase subscriptions to Calendly. And what Calendly allows us to do is to offer blocks of time that we can offer college application support. So we send this out, and Jeff actually manages sending this out to our students to then sign up for a time that they may want to attend a college application session that's led by our head counselors. So we have found that to be beneficial in offering that support to students, and also taking it away from the teachers as far as them feeling that they had to do it in class time because they have limited class time. So just offering another avenue for students to be able to get through that college application process. All right, so then the next thing is this data tracking system. So just to give you an overview, we have, this is as of last year's data, we had 5,341 students that were enrolled in courses that have a credit by exam agreement. So the data tracking system is really huge for us. We need to know kind of all of these pieces, right? Who's enrolled in the courses? What are their course grades? Are they eligible to earn credit? What did they get on the end of course exam? Do they have their college ID, meaning did they do the college application? Did they submit a petition form? And then where are they in that transcribing of credit? Did they get their credit transcribed? So this data tracking system is huge for us to be able to track all of these pieces of data and then to customize communication. So if we know that and customize our efforts really and our action steps is we can see, our students not earning credit because they didn't pass the exam or because they didn't apply to the college. And we can really identify what it is that student needs. We're supporting about 73 instructors that have courses that qualify. And this gives you an example here of last year. We had students that met all criteria. We had about 1,836, which doesn't include a few courses because they were not able to have the exam. It needed to be hands-on, so we were not able to give it. but this is the overall students that qualified for credit. One of the reasons that we really focused on this data system is I just wanted to mention kind of college and career readiness indicator and us wanting to make sure that we were communicating the right data to the state around students that were prepared. And in the college and career indicator, this number 4 focuses on college credit courses. And if a student takes 2 semesters or 3 quarters of college coursework, they are determined prepared. So that's a huge criteria. And we have many students taking college courses. We wanted to make sure we were reporting accurately. Down here as well, if students meet A through G requirements and take 1 semester of college course or 2 quarters, they also are determined prepared. So as a district, we're at 60% prepared. Of course, we're always looking to improve, but that is, this is a good number. We're in the green area. And as we look deeper into how we are meeting college and career readiness, you can see these measures, and you can see that by college credit course, 50% of our students are contributing to being prepared based on college credit course. So we know that that is an important piece, and that we want to make sure we're capturing credit by exam as well. So that was kind of what started us on this data tracking idea and wanting to improve our systems, is just wanting to make sure we were reporting data. So I want to mention Jeff in this point. Jeff Thomas is our school site operations specialist, and our student information system did not have a way for us to track all of those elements. So Jeff, and having somebody like Jeff who knows FileMaker Pro, was able to create a system for us. So instead of which I did in the beginning, was wish that our student information system would do it, we were able to create a system to be able to keep track of all this data. So Jeff, I would recommend, if anyone is looking for data, advice or how to build systems like that, he has been essential to us being able to accomplish this goal. So I want to recognize Jeff as well. Did you wave yet, Jeff? Okay. And if you have questions around that, everyone will be available to go over that. But this idea here shows we start with all of our students that are enrolled in our student information system, and Jeff pulls down all of the schedules of all of our students. And then he narrows down that data into who's enrolled in our CTE articulated courses. And he can generate those rosters, because those rosters are then important for us to capture data later around the end of course exam. Our teachers are entering the end of course exam results. From there, he's able to track and give us reports around who's eligible based on the course grades. So the course grades that teachers enter into our student information system, he can then narrow that down, and we can see exactly which students qualify based on grades. And then as we are tracking the college application and the student college ID, we're keeping track of that in our system. Jeff really wanted this graphic to show arrows because it's this interconnected web of data. Like, we're pulling from college data, we're pulling from data that we pull from other reports, or and it's all coming into this central data system. But it really helps to inform us about where we are in each step of the way. And then the petition form, right? And which students, we actually had to shift to an online petition form, and so we shifted to using DocuSign. Jeff created pre-filled forms with the course that the student's taking that then got sent to students so that they could send it back to us electronically.
And Sarah, I just wanted to jump in here and say, share with everyone that, as Sarah was mentioning, sort of that need to make a lot of this being driven by a need to not only improve how we share our data and track our data, but also make sure that we're meeting reporting timelines and deadlines that are meaningful to each of our different constituents. That was huge last year as we started revising these processes, and that timeline I mentioned has been key to really start over and say, okay, well, we used to do petition processing at this date, but it actually prevented us from getting the data we needed. So how do we move that up? And how do we really recognize the incentives that we have and also the restrictions that we have on either side to make sure that the data is working for us? We also, this data system that she's describing, which is so awesome, is a huge shift. So this is the first year of working outside of CATMA. So we used to all use CATMA system, which many of you may be familiar with if you manage the CT transitions credit by exam systems within your own institutions. That used to contain a lot of the student data, but it wasn't as usable and as interconnected as this partnership was able to be. And so because of joint partnership, we've been able to really expand, and it's really been driven by communicating and getting in the same room. And I remember multiple days of using a whiteboard and saying, this isn't working, how do we back this up? I need that data, it's here, but I need it connected to this. And so we really spent that time, and this beautiful pyramid makes it look so simple. But it was a lot of work on everyone's team. So I just wanted to call that out.
Yeah, and even I like how you ended on that, Amrita, because this pyramid. So as I was looking at this pyramid, I was a little disappointed that this is not a square, right? Where that all these students that are enrolled are also all the students that are earning college credit. And that's our goal. And so as I'm looking at this, we know that it does narrow right now. But as we look at data, it also is informing our areas to focus on, so that we can get to that square where all students that are enrolled can earn college credit. And so I mentioned that in going to the next slide around being able to look at overall where are we offering agreements. And so we looked at all of our pathways. As I mentioned, there's like 26 distinct pathways. Some schools offer a different sequence within there, but in general, there's about 26 pathways that we have out of the 15 industry sectors. Out of those 26 pathways, we have 11 of them that have a credit transfer agreement. So as we were, reviewing our programs, we were able to identify, and we actually mapped out and shared this with our stakeholders, like which pathways have a credit transfer agreement, right? And which course it has that agreement. And are there opportunities to look at schools that maybe, let me keep going here, that have a program but do not have a credit transfer agreement? And how could we focus our efforts to increase and get check marks so that every one of our pathways has a credit transfer agreement? This is an example of one that we targeted last year at the end of the year. And we said, food prep and nutrition, we have a lot of students at many of our high schools that are taking this course. Could we add an agreement here? And this is how we collaboratively work together to identify those courses that we wanted to focus on to add agreements coming this year. This is actually a successful one. The faculty agreed. We now have a new agreement in food prep and nutrition, which means that many more high school students, Jeff could probably tell us the number easily, about how many more potential students we now have that will be able to potentially earn college credit. So this is just an example of how we focused on which courses we want. Like, for example, patient care, we're focusing on 2 courses that we can increase. And we looked at our schools, we looked at enrollment, and we really wanted to focus on which ones do we want to prioritize so that we add agreements in those areas. So we're looking to grow our numbers and just continue to offer more opportunities for our students in this area.
Thanks, Sarah. So before I go into our research and reporting, I have to introduce Eric Anthony, because he is on our team. He is when I said, I didn't realize he was on the call earlier, as I would have made him do my slides, really. But so when I mentioned that in our district across our 3 colleges, and our non-credit institution, actually our 4th institution, our work in this area is centralized. What I really meant was Eric Anthony does it all. So he's our lead in terms of working with San Diego Unified and coordinating our faculty and managing these agreements, managing the signatures, validating information, and ensuring that it gets transcribed with our partnership with Student Services. And I will just say that this model is something we hope to expand in terms of improvement in our other areas, because we also manage these early college credit opportunities from our non-credit institution into our college, as well as out of district high schools. So it's sort of a broader world that Eric works in, but he's been instrumental in working with Jeff and Adriana and Sarah and the rest of her team. So thank you, Eric, for being here. I hope I didn't mess up our slides too much, but you'll give me tips later. So I know I don't have too much time left, so I will dive into the research and reporting area. So I wanted to share, as you've probably gotten the impression, a lot of these changes are new. So even though our partnership has been coming along for a very long time, it's really just been in the last few years that we've transformed a lot of these processes. And a big help, I guess I would say, in really catalyzing many of these changes came with our joint board's request for a better and more detailed report on our student outcomes. So every year we would present on the number of students who were in the classes and the number of agreements and the number that got credit. But there wasn't a lot of deep dive into really the outcomes, like who really is participating, where are the challenges, the strengths, the opportunities, all of that. And so we were asked to do this, which was great, so that it also came with some support from our district IR. They led the research, And we were able to last year come up with a report that really showed some history and context of our partnership together with these agreements. So the first report includes 2015-16 data all the way through 17-18. We're going to be doing this annually. This fall, the report will come out with both 18-19 and 19-20 data added onto it. We really focused on the critical questions, right? So where are the agreements? Which schools have which agreements? And as Sarah showed, there's lots of pathways that don't have agreements, right? And how do we really expand that? And where are students and where are those agreements and under what pathways? Who's actually participating? From which communities? How are they doing in the classes? Which students are getting the A's and B's? Which students aren't? So how many participate? How many qualify? Of those who qualify, how many get that credit, right? And as Sarah mentioned, the improved administrative systems and support that they've built in, more people who qualify are now actually getting it, right? And so that's such a huge component. And then of course, of those students who get early college credit, how many come on and transition to our colleges? How many continue in those pathways? And so the data really gave us some insight in there. And it allowed us to focus on some of our strengths. We've seen huge growth in participation, as Sarah mentioned. I think there's about, I mean, the number sounds so silly. There's about a 600% increase in growth of participation of those who received college credit from 15-16 to 17-18. And that really is due to all the support of actually helping them get that credit, right? They've done the work, they've proven themselves, but it's the administrative systems we've put in place that can be challenging. And so how can we improve those and remove barriers and really provide them the support they needed? There was nearly 9,000 college credits awarded between 15-16 and 17-18. While we saw a little bit of a decline in the number of active agreements, we saw an increase in the number of students getting them. And so we like to believe that means though we maybe narrowed them, they became more meaningful and also more focused. Because agreement, as Sarah said earlier, agreement is useless unless students are receiving that credit. And so now I think as we're starting to be more strategic, you're going to start to see an increase in those agreements, which is, as Sarah said, a big goal of ours. So I won't go into all the details of the report, but I will share it also pointed out some of our opportunities for improvement. It really showed us where there were equity gaps in success and in availability and access to pathways that had agreements. We did a little bit of analysis of also pathways, student access to pathways that led to high wage, high demand jobs. And that's really where we started to see some agreement gaps. And so because of this, we took the opportunity to come together to really bring student services and instruction together, revise our processes, think about what we all needed and kind of break them apart and put them back together, co-create those resources we shared earlier, and start to be a bit more strategic about really how do we actually respond to the data to actually strengthen the outcomes for those students, right? And so there's sort of three main parts to this iterative process. And the first is what you've kind of seen today is those administrative systems, right? How do we continue coordination across all the departments on both sides, and then our teams working together and make sure that we're not creating new barriers and not getting exhausted with too much new work, but creating efficiencies that actually support student success. The second one is really a refined focus around high enrolled CT courses within specific high schools that maybe have historically low participation and early college credit success. And so looking at high wage, high demand pathways and certificate and degree completion of those pathways. So really trying to connect agreements towards acceleration of degree and access to that, and really focusing on specific high schools. And then of course, moving beyond those agreements, really building faculty to teacher relationships. So there's trust there, there's collaboration, there's co-creation, and opportunities for real meaningful engagement with the students, right? So special events where pre-COVID days, students would come to college and we would, based on a pathway that agreements are built in, show them what it's like at the college within that pathway to really encourage that transition from high school into community college. And that's sort of the spirit of the work right now, is really trying to make those improvements. We're leveraging our faculty subject area meetings to really target meaningful information sharing. So not just saying, hey, do you want to review this course? The high school's interested, but saying this course is part of a career pathway with these goals and these objectives, and this is what this course is focused on. Does it align in consideration of that pathway? Does it align with your career pathway? How can we get those students to be aware of what they could do here and use this agreement as an opportunity? So that's a lot of the focus. And I would share that, you know, as Sarah mentioned, the nutrition course that we were able to get through, you know, her team did a deep dive into really looking at what were some high enrolled courses within specific schools that were underserved for early college credit. They picked that class. Our faculty were excited about the pathway. And I think he put in the chat, it's about over 600 new students are now going to be eligible for early college credit with that one agreement. So that's really meaningful to all of us. And I think,
yeah, we come to just overall key highlights that we want to mention around our combined efforts and our strategy and our partnership together. One of the key, that first one there on this slide is our joint board goals. So our two boards, our Board of Education for the district and our Board of Trustees of the Community College District, they come together annually and they have a joint board meeting, and they review kind of what are our initiatives in our partnership together. And then we have teams that actually work to implement those goals. So that has been a key area for us in knowing that our joint board is supportive of our work, and actually increases goal areas for us or things to focus on. The data, as Amrita mentioned, the data outcomes report came out of some of that joint board discussion. I'd mention also just the college partnerships, as Amrita mentioned on the last slide, is really and student experiences together, is really being able to identify like experiences for students that relate to the course they're in and the early college credit that they're earning. So imagine how much more meaningful it is for a student to go to a college campus that they already know they are going to earn college credit at that campus. And then ongoing communication and partnership amongst all of our different areas. So we have dual enrollment programs. We have CCAP opportunities for students to take college courses on their high school campus. And what we're working to build are these pathways for students where they can see, I can take this CCTE course and earn college credit, and then I can take this college course, and that all aligns to this certificate program or this degree that I might be interested in. And then I would just mention our ongoing communication. Like our two departments are so closely connected. We meet, I think it was weekly in the beginning, like when we first shifted to online learning, we were meeting weekly to just have check-ins around where we are with agreements, where we are with process, where we are with sharing information and getting information back. And so that has been a key piece to this partnership as well.
And we did want to throw in a little bit of mention, I think it's on the very next slide, just about that partnership, as Sarah mentioned right in the beginning. And as we all went remote, we realized we've got to get on this stuff, right? There's a lot of things happening, a lot of questions. And so we started to meet weekly and really pay attention and really build these systems together. So I did want to just share that we were successful in pivoting. Most of the final assessments in the CT transitions credit by exam articulation agreements, they are proctored by the high school teacher within the classroom, but we do have a few that are proctored by our college faculty. And we had to pivot. We used to bring students either to one large space to take them all at once, or we would bus them to different areas. Like it was a big thing. And now we had to go online. So not only did we have to support the faculty to take that course and put it online, we had to help all the high schools make sure that their students knew how to take the test online. And it was a big undertaking and one that I think went pretty well. We also had to explore access to certain software, right? Some of the course alignment, for example, in graphic design require access to certain software that suddenly became unavailable. And so we were able to coordinate across the institutions, meet with Sarah's team, meet with our faculty, and work out ways to really ensure the students could continue their learning in a meaningful way that would be tied to college credit. A lot of faculty meetings. I know I've been mentioning faculty a lot. In those meetings, really building that understanding and flexibility, the long-term goal around why we're doing this. And the commitment they showed throughout the transitions in COVID-19 has been really phenomenal, really trying to accommodate all of the extreme circumstances everyone's been in. And then our regular team meetings. I know our calendars are always full of so many meetings, but these ones are very helpful to keep everyone on track as we try to manage all the tasks. So I did just want to kind of shout out to the new world of COVID-19. We are making it through. All the agreements are still active, full steam ahead.
All right, and so on the next slide, and actually that brings us to, we have 10 minutes, which we want to open up for questions, and we have some time left. So we do have our contact information. We thank you for being here and being interested in supporting early college credit for our students and being team up. I keep people responding to the goals and hopes, but we're here. Slide is the certificate. We'll show that. Any questions? All right. I'll transition us to our final slide, and we will be here if anybody has a question or wants to make a comment or anything like that.
Yes,
I really love these certificates at the end of the session. This was such a great idea.
Yes, yeah, so please take your screenshots. But yes, let us know if there's questions, put them in the chat or just unmute yourself. And I know we covered a lot of information. We get excited about this. But as you can see, we're developing new tools and I'm excited to share. So let us know what you think. I have questions ready for you if you don't ask me questions. I am curious with everyone who's on the call today, just about, you know, what are your processes? Are they similar to ours? Are we on another planet, or do they ring true to you? Or have you already leapfrogged us and think, I can't believe they're only just doing this now. We've got these resources, they should have called. I'm just curious sort of your involvement in these processes and how does it compare to kind of what we shared today?
We have a good question in the chat that I can answer too. So as people
are yes, as you're thinking about that, Christine.
We have a question from Christine around the same team working on dual enrollment. So it's an interesting answer actually. So in our district, the same team was working on it, and then there was a little bit of a shift, and now we're back to where yes, the same team is going to work on CCAP and our credit by exam. And of course, we see direct alignment. We want to really, pull that in for students so they understand the process for both and they understand how they can be connected. We do have one program that I do want to highlight, which is in our biotechnology area, where one of our courses is articulated. They're first, one of the first courses they take. They earn the college credit for that course. And then they actually go to the college to take the next two courses, and they do earn a certificate of achievement. They actually even get to walk in the ceremony. So that was actually an added agreement that our students that earn the certificate while they're in high school are able to walk, in a ceremony when we have one. But that is a nice model. And we have actually taken that as a goal focus area for us, is to increase the opportunities for students to earn those certificates. The colleges have been really willing to work with us on sometimes customizing certificates and creating new certificates. We're in the process right now of working with Mesa College on a certificate of achievement for a dental office front office. They didn't have the front office certificate before, but they're willing to create one so that our students have an opportunity to achieve that.
I'll share that on the college side. The dual enrollment is in a separate shop a little bit, but we're starting to collaborate more. And I think there's going to be a number of changes in the next year or so that collaboration is a lot stronger, so that our investment in the partnership and coordination with Sarah's team around career pathways can really start to integrate dual enrollment, as Sarah shared, and have it both integrated and supported properly on both sides, because right now dual enrollment is decentralized in our district, and so we're working to reinforce some of the centralized components, and we're starting to partner with our student services shop that really leads that effort, and so I think we'll start to see more coordination across career pathways for all forms of our early college credit.
Oh, our session ends at 2:50. Oh, we're actually done.
Sorry.
And I know that we have our next sessions at 3 o'clock. So we thank you all for being here again. Be sure to join the next session at 3 o'clock. And you have our emails. If there's anything that comes up or you have questions, we're definitely willing to support you in this process.
Yes, thank you so much for being here today. Have a great afternoon.